We did try to reconnect, but she went full psycho. People who have met a former crush years later, how did it turn out? I liked her when we were 15 but she wasn't nice to me. I ran into her when we were 23 and she looked so old I didn't recognize her. When she realized I didn't recognize her, she began to cry and ran to the bathroom. Never saw her again. Had a crush on her all through freshman and sophomore year. She kissed me at the end of sophomore year. I failed to reciprocate. Basically ran away from her. Extreme social anxiety. I switched schools after disappearing for the summer, not because of the kiss, but when school started again I walked to her school every day for half of the year in hopes of having the balls to make a move. Saw her each day. Failed each day. She obviously got tired of waiting, ended up with another guy. I gave up. Come end of senior year she shows up at my school to see some guy. Saw me, literally jumped into my arms and forced her phone number on me. Together 7 years come November. I proposed to her around a week ago. When I was in first year I had the stupidest little girl crush on this guy in my program. And I had no idea how to express it, so I think I thoroughly creeped him out with my staring and pathetic attempts to get him to have coffee with me and such. Anyway, that was 8 years ago and I've really matured as a person since then. I hadn't even thought of him in years when I ran into him. I was actually excited to find out he worked at a store I was planning to go to. I thought I can finally have a normal conversation with crush. He'll see I'm not a creepy weirdo anymore. Anyway, when I ran into him our conversation went like this. Me, hey, crush, how's it going? Him, good thanks, how are you? Me, good thanks, how are you? And then it just spiraled into awkwardness from there. Guess some people just bring it out of me. Ran into her some years later in our mid-20s at a New Year's party. We both were just recently single and started to click. Eventually we both confessed to a mutual crush in high school. Then as the night went on and beer flowed, she gave hand to 2 random guys in the living room. Went out for drinks, still fixated on her. Was given a chance. Got wasted and embarrassed myself by spending so much of the night talking about how much my younger self liked her. Extolling her virtues like it was years ago. Mentioned how crazy and awesome it was that I was finally getting my chance. It was sad as hell. I didn't realize how bad I messed up until I sobered up. Woke up and immediately knew I would not be given a second opportunity. Saw her reactions and responses from the previous night with a sober eye. I realized the massive amount of "I'm going to be polite, but I've made a mistake" that was continuously written across her face. Embarrassing as hell. It seems that the girls I was chasing in high school, if I see them now it's like I don't see what the big deal was. And then the girls I wasn't chasing, but in retrospect should have been, are all insanely gorgeous, funny, smart. If I had a time machine I'd go back and punch 15-year-old me right in the beanbag. Idiot. Let's see, met her when I was 13, we totally crushed. Fast forward to when we're both 23. She has a kid from a previous marriage, but it didn't bother me. Got married, she cheated, tried to take me for child support for her daughter. 2 out of 10, would not recommend. Her last name is very close to mine, so throughout high school our lockers were together or we'd have seats in class next to each other. She was a cheerleader, incredibly hot and also a cool person. We were friends but nothing close. I ran into her 4 years later. She dropped out of college and is waiting tables now. But she got even hotter. Still a really nice girl though. Sorry to disappoint guys, but no oral at Taco Bell was involved. People keep asking if I asked her out and no I didn't. I've had a girlfriend for over 2 years. No, we didn't hook up at a Taco Bell either. We started a small thing when we were around 17 years old. Didn't work out because she was spoiled and I was a pretty heartless butthole. Fast forward a few relationships for us both, 11 years of growth, and she came back into my life a few months ago. We're dating and life is pretty good now, couldn't ask for anything more. Sometimes it's the right person but the wrong time. My wife's former crush randomly messaged her on Facebook one day. She had fun with him on day 2. She's now my ex-wife, she's jobless living with his mom, and I have the kids. My kids are 5 and 3 so they don't understand it much, but I'm hoping for the long game when they realize which parent was really there for them. My son still says hurtful things at times like, "I don't want to live with you anymore, I want to live with mommy," when he's angry. She was in my class back in kindergarten, in my class again in 3rd grade. Showed her my boxers and she was now my girlfriend. Then I discovered she cheated on me with my best friend. I saw him showing her his underwear. Needless to say, I've moved on from that event in my life. But if you are out there, Olivia or Matt, F you. Had a crush on this girl in grade school. Second. Playdates, video games, action figures. Life was good. Bought her a present at a 5 and 10 because I thought she'd like it. It was a ring. She was ultra embarrassed and ran off. My parents still have not let me forget that. She changed schools, for other reasons, that next year. Fast forward 14 years. Graduated from undergrad, working for a company in my hometown and working on getting accepted to medical school. Out for drinks one night with friends, and who should come by but her? Beautiful, great taste in music, smiles at my jokes. Smitten. Fast forward several more years. Gave her a ring again. She did not run away. Happily married several years. Saw her at the 10-year high school reunion. She was a bit heavier than she'd been in high school, but still attractive. She was there with her Ivy League fiancé. These two facts combined to change my mindset from, I wanna bang my high school crush at our reunion, to, oh well, never mind. At one point, we were being recognized for something, and with all eyes on us, she leaned over and said, "I remember what a crush you had on me. You wanted me bad." First, I couldn't really react, given the immediate circumstances. Second, I didn't detect any kind of Taco Bell type invitation in what she'd said. Sorry. In fact, it almost seemed like she was just lording it over me. I mean, she was there with her fiancé, who, we determined in previous small talk, she loved and who was awesome. For some reason, it really pissed me off. I just gave her a blank look, shrugged, and walked away. To this day, I wish I'd had some kind of witty comeback, but that's about my only regret. Haven't seen her since, but I hope she's happy, and blah, blah, blah. We're married now. Had a mega crush in high school, finally contacted him 6 years later since I knew him back then, and we haven't been apart since. Now we have been together for 4 years, married for 1 and have a baby on the way. Dreams really do come true, I don't care how cheesy that sounds. I was in love with him for most of my lower teenage years. He was my best friend, but I broke it off when I found out he'd been talking bad behind my back. I never thought he meant what he said about me, but I do know he was desperate to be liked by people, and didn't mind pooping on me to seem cooler to them. Of course the people he talked to told me about it. I sent him a handwritten letter explaining what I'd heard, and also that I was still in love with him and couldn't be just friends. We met up when I was 19, about 3 years since we'd last seen each other. He was as charming as he'd always been, and I realized how quickly we fell back into our previous roles. Him, being cool but kind of an a-hole, and me, hanging off his every word. I'm happy we met up because it gave me some closure to realize I didn't feel the same as I did about him, and that he was even more of an a-hole. I still think about him sometimes, but much more soberly than I did when we still hung out. We had a beer, talked a bit. It was nice. She was even hotter than before. I was now swole, made decent money, decent haircut, clothes, etc. Thought I had a shot. I clean up real good. She never called me back when I asked her to go to a show. Last I looked on Facebook, she's married now. That was like 6 or 7 years ago. Now I just quietly weep in the dark and drink and watch Netflix. Don't go out much anymore. Thanks for reminding me. Tried to pull an ultimatum on me in high school, do this or we're over. I called her bluff and that's how our relationship ended. 10-ish years later we're both single and I visit her on a lark. Turns out she's sleeping with a divorced man and trying to get him to abandon his wife and daughter. Yeah. Also her apartment was absolutely filthy. I mean, I'm no prize, but I've tried to ruin exactly 0 families. Good, we've been dating for almost a year now. He was my crush back in junior high. He didn't even know me. He was in the French stream, I was in English. We connected over 10 years later on Tinder. He asked what my spirit animal was, and I said Iggy Azalea, and that was that. I wasn't all that interested in him when we went out, but for some reason it worked out. I didn't tell him until our 5th date that I already knew him from before. He looks like a taller version of what he did back then. It's a little weird. I had a crush on the daughter of my mom's friend when I was about 10 years. We would hang out a lot, sometimes all night when our moms were working together at the coat check of the restaurant my dad valeted for. She was definitely my first big crush, but I was a shy, awkward kid. I remember one of the last times we hung out, I gave her my favorite Lion King trading card because I like her. After our moms got new jobs, we didn't see each other anymore. The next time I saw her was when we were 18. She was really different, and even though she was still really cute, I didn't feel the same way about her. We talked for a bit and caught up. She showed me pictures of her son. Apparently she had gotten pregnant when she was 17 and had a beautiful baby boy that her mom looked after so she could finish school. It was a nice experience, especially finding out what she had been up to all those years. Had a crush on the high school QB, and his family was royalty in my school. It was a very small town that worshipped football, and his family had been players going back 4 generations or something like that, but in terms of popularity, this guy wasn't just out of my league. He was out of my stratosphere. Fast forward 10 years. I'm newly single and he looks me up on the book. Flirting plus admitting I had a huge crush on him in school equals date. Score for me, yeah? Yeah, no. I get to his place and he's living in a 300 square foot box. Still driving that '89 pickup from high school. Talking about how he was king poop. Still caught up in being worshipped in school and clearly couldn't grasp why the real world didn't do the same. Can you believe, Reddit, that he actually had to prove himself? The nerve of his boss. Ate dinner, the man did grill one hell of a steak, and noped out. All through elementary and middle school I was absolutely enamored with this one girl. As kids in elementary school we did the cutesy couple thing without actually being in a relationship. I thought we would get married and have like 1,000 kids. In middle school she became a bad kid. I guess she had some trouble at home and her entire demeanor shifted during summer. She became an emo kid, started hanging out with the kids who go arrested, and was in and out of the principal's office non-stop. I still tried hanging out with her because I was still crushing hard, but we were just too different now. I was into awkward RuneScape, she was into Hot Topic and giving HJs to high schoolers behind the gas station. Eventually she was sent to juvie and that was the last I heard of her. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, I'm home on summer break from college and I find her on Tinder. We match and talk for a few days. She ended up getting knocked up in high school and dropping out due to being a single mom. She mentions meeting up for some coffee and maybe a movie at her place. I just unmatched her. Something about seeing how she turned out just ruined the illusion for me. Ever since the 6th grade I had always had a huge crush on this guy we'll call Michael. Michael and I sat next to each other in math class and became good friends. One day after class I thought I had worked up the courage to tell him how I felt. I remember walking to our lockers together and me saying something along the lines of, "I have to tell you something. I like you. Just kidding." Followed by me running away to get sick in the bathroom. I totally chickened out halfway though. Fast forward to high school. Michael and I are still acquaintances and I am of course still crushing. Eventually in 11th grade Michael asks me out on a date and I am stoked. Come to find out, he is the worst kisser ever and I still don't care. We casually go on dates here and there throughout junior and senior year. I had always hoped that we could have become more, but it was never serious and he often went out with other girls. During my senior year in college I end up reconnecting with Michael over Facebook. He asked me out and I couldn't have been more excited, hoping to maybe finally end up with this guy that I had placed on a pedestal for so long. Long story short, he took me out to dinner at Applebee's and invited me back to his place to watch a movie. Within the first 5 minutes, he starts trying to make a move. I was surprised to find out that his kissing skills had not gotten any better. But whatever, this was Michael. Well, as this goes on, he starts trying to take my clothes off and I politely decline. He says he understands and goes back to kissing. 30 seconds later he is at it again. Trying to undress me and get on top of me. I keep telling him no and he just keeps trying. He's going on and on. I really like you. Come on. I think we could really work out. Come on. After this keeps happening over the course of the next 5 minutes, I decide I need to leave. He is unhappy about it and asks if he can see me again and I say, sure. I get out of there and haven't seen or talked to him since. He did text me a few times after that, but I just had no interest. Reconnected with the one that got away. We were in the beginning of a relationship in high school, about 17, and she moved unexpectedly. Was devastated, but through chance, mutual friend, reconnected with her. We were 23 or so. First day seeing each other was great for the both of us and it seemed like we were reconnecting beautifully. Hooked up, whispered sweet nothings and had some great fun times. Then reality set in and we took a road trip together. Where she became a crazy witch. She seemed to have a prescription pill addiction, which was likely the source. The takeaway is that we generally remember the things we want to about people, and I always thought about meeting her again. We did try to reconnect one last time, but she went full psycho. She called or texted me about a year or so ago. We reconnected probably 3 years ago, wasn't going to deal with her again and was glad I ignored her. Thanks for listening to Radio TTS. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell for more videos. Click the right box for the AskReddit playlist. Share your own former crush story in the comments below.